In October of 1878, 4 police officers rode into the Australian bush with a clear mission. They were to capture Ned Kelly and bring him in alive. They expected resistance. They expected danger. What they did not expect was that by the end of the day, 3 of them would be dead, and that the man they were hunting would never again be treated as someone who could surrender. By late 1878, Ned Kelly was already wanted by police. He was accused of crimes, he was suspected of others, and he was believed to be hiding in the bush with a small group of associates. The situation was tense, but it had not yet reached the point of no return. That changed at a place called Stringybark Creek. 4 officers were sent to track down the Kelly gang. They were not random patrolmen. They were experienced bush police, used to long pursuits and harsh conditions. Their plan was simple: set up camp near suspected hideouts. Wait. Surprise the gang when they appeared. But the bush did not belong to the police. It belonged to the people who knew how to disappear into it. The camp was established in a remote area, surrounded by forest and scrub. The officers believed they were hidden. They were not. Ned Kelly and his associates knew they were there, and they watched. 2 of the officers left camp to investigate the area. They were intercepted by members of the Kelly gang. What happened next would later be debated, dissected, and argued over for generations. But the result was not in dispute. Both officers were shot. They died where they fell. The bush fell silent again. Back at the police camp, the remaining 2 officers waited, unaware of what had just happened. When Ned Kelly approached, he did not charge. He did not open fire immediately. He called out. He demanded surrender. What followed was chaotic and violent. Gunfire erupted. 1 officer was killed during the exchange. The last surviving officer fled into the bush. He would be the only one to return. By the time authorities understood what had happened, the damage was irreversible. 3 police officers were dead. Their bodies were recovered later. News spread quickly across the colony. For many, this was the moment sympathy ended. Police had been killed. Public outrage exploded. The government could not afford restraint anymore. The lone surviving officer gave his account of the events. It painted Ned Kelly as ruthless and dangerous. Others would later question parts of the story. But it no longer mattered. The deaths alone were enough. The killings at Stringybark Creek forced the government's hand. This was no longer about theft, defiance, or evasion. Police officers had died in the line of duty. The pressure to act decisively was overwhelming. Within days, authorities escalated the response. Ned Kelly and his associates were declared outlaws. After Stringybark Creek, surrender was no longer realistic. Even if Ned had wanted to give himself up, the climate had changed. Fear ruled the conversation. Revenge shaped policy. The law hardened. From that moment on, every encounter would be treated as a battle. The killings split public opinion. Some saw the officers as martyrs. Others saw the event as the inevitable outcome of years of police harassment and corruption. Among working-class communities, especially Irish families, resentment toward the authorities deepened. Stringybark Creek didn't just kill 3 men. It exposed a fracture running through colonial society. In later statements and letters, Ned Kelly framed the encounter as self-defense. He claimed the police intended to kill him, not arrest him. Whether one accepts that explanation or not, the reality remained. Blood had been spilled, and it could not be undone. Stringybark Creek is the moment Ned Kelly crossed from criminal into something else entirely. After this, the government would not negotiate, the public would not forget, and the law would show no mercy. This single confrontation reshaped everything that followed. Without Stringybark Creek, there is no outlaw declaration. There is no nationwide manhunt. There is no Glen Rowan siege. This was the spark. Once lit, it could not be extinguished. Today, Stringybark Creek remains one of the most controversial moments in Australian history. Some see it as cold-blooded murder, others as a violent confrontation driven by fear on both sides. But no one disputes its impact. 4 police officers entered the bush. Only one came back, and after that day, Ned Kelly was never just a man on the run again. He was a symbol, a target, and eventually, a legend. History often turns on moments no one can take back. Stringybark Creek was one of them, and once it happened, there was no going home.